Africa is splitting into two, and new data is uncovering how. The East Africa Rift System is being pulled apart by gigantic geological forces. The East Africa Rift System, EARS, runs downward through Ethiopia, Kenya. Ethiopia we know is south of Egypt. It runs through Ethiopia, Kenya, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, and Mozambique. Africa is slowly but surely splitting into two. The east of the continent is scarred by one of the largest rifts in the world. Despite its colossal size, scientists know surprisingly little about the complex movement of this unusual deformation. In a new study, researchers used GPS mapping and computer models to change that. The feature in question is the East African Rift System, EARS, an active continental rift zone stretching downwards for thousands of kilometers from roughly north to south through Ethiopia, Kenya, Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, and Mozambique. And we know that Madagascar was once part of East Africa, and that split off. Now, the EARS, the African Rift Zone, is effectively a crack in the African plate that could split the continent into two plates, the smaller Somalian plate and the larger Nubian plate. The two sides are drifting apart from each other at a super sluggish snail's pace of millimeters per year, less than the rate your fingernails grow. And at this rate, it won't be for millions and millions of years until the potential break occurs. That said, we already witnessed the impact of the African Rift Zone since it's seismically active. At points where the lithosphere is stretching especially thin, giant cracks in the ground can form and earthquakes are frequently sparked, and we have a lot of volcanoes on this area as well. When we stand on Earth's surface, it can feel rock solid, and when viewed from afar on a vast time scale, it actually behaves much more like silly putty. If you hit silly putty with a hammer, it can actually crack and break, said Sarah Snaps, associate professor in the Department of Geoscience, part of the Virginia Tech College of Science, explained in a statement. And she said, but if you slowly pull it apart, the silly putty stretches. So on different time scales, Earth's lithosphere behaves in different ways. There are two leading theories about how the African Rift Zone moves around. As per the first theory, is explained by something called lithospheric buoyancy forces, which are relatively shallow forces attributed mainly to the rift system's surface and variations in the lithosphere density. The second theory involves much deeper forces, namely how Earth's mantle flows horizontally deep beneath East Africa. Stamps, along with her colleagues, have recently studied East Africa Rift Zone using computer modeling and GPS satellite data to map the movement of the surface with millimeter precision. Their findings suggest that the rift zone is being driven by both the shallow lithosphere forces and the deeper mantle forces, but in very different ways. The lithospheric buoyancy forces contribute to the rift spreading from east to west, running perpendicular to the direction of the fracture. However, forces are also acting on the crack in parallel direction north to south, thanks to the African superplume, a feature deep beneath southwest Africa that brings a stream of mantle material from the core mantle boundary. It flows in a northeast direction across the continent, becoming more shallow as it extends northward. And we notice that, let's keep in mind that that fault goes all the way into the Jordan River. Okay, that's from the Red Sea, goes up through Israel, and the Jordan River is part of that fault. So that's the northward extension of it. In other words, part of the movement behind the vertical crack across East Africa is northward flow of mantle material deep below the surface, while it's being split open from east to west by forces within the lithosphere. And let me remind you that the geology of Israel is very, very unique, very significant, and most people don't even know that the Sea of Galilee is basically a volcanic lake. And all around the Sea of Galilee, we have hot spring baths, because there's magma under there. Hot spring baths since antiquity. Even the Romans developed a lot of beautiful hot spring baths that are still there today. That's the Sea of Galilee. Now, which of course has magma underneath. Now, so while it's being split here, opening from east to west by forces within the lithosphere, we're saying that the mantle flow is not driving the east-west rift perpendicular direction of some of the deformations, but it may be causing the anomalous northward deformation parallel to the rift. We confirm previous ideas that lithospheric buoyancy forces are driving the rift, but we're bringing you insight that anomalous deformation can happen in East Africa, explained Tahiri Raja Onarison, the postdoctorate researcher at New Mexico Tech. The study was published in Journal of Geophysics Research Solid Earth, March 2023. This is on IFL Science by Tom Hale. And again, it's really sad that they're not connecting this with the Transjordanian fault that runs into the Jordan River through Israel. This is on IFL Science. I'll leave links. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.